Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on 6th July on Science Journalism with the journalist Senne Starckx from Antwerp. My name is Sylvia Schreiber. I will moderate this session and will introduce to you our guest. Senne Starckx is a freelance journalist. He is a physicist by training, and he specialized in reporting on scientific issues ranging from natural physics over energy matters toward molecular biology and evolution. He lives in Mol in Belgium. This is close to Antwerp, and Senne is contributing to the Flemish science magazine EOS, but also to Dutch and English outlets like Flanders Today or the British Physics World. And his topic is how to reach the media. I think this should interest everybody, especially when you're a member in CommBebiz, which task is to better communicate the bioeconomy, and Senne will give us some example how to better succeed. Over to you, Senne, please.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Good afternoon, members of CommBebiz. I'm going to say something about the relationship between scientists and journalists. I belong to the latter second part. First, let me start with the first slide. Before you want to communicate with the press, you should ask yourself some questions. First is who do you think you are? It sounds a little bit direct. What I mean with that is the bioeconomy is a relatively new discipline. It's both bio and economy, so you could say it's both science and economy. So you should think about in what discipline you are. Is it in more economic sector, or is it the more scientific discipline? Are there life cycle analysis involved, feasibility studies, or are you more on the fundamental research side? So before you think about going to the press, contacting a journalist, you should think about your message. Is it more economic? Is it more scientific? More about energy? The environment? So that's an important question. Second question, what do you have to say? If you have anything to say, of course, but I suppose that's the matter here. Be sure about what you want to say to the press and what not. You should ideally have some kind of preliminary story in your mind already about the result of your communication. I'm talking now a little bit about, because I'm a print journalist, so I'm thinking about print articles or online. So you should have some kind of story, some kind of article in your mind. That helps when you're contacting the press, the media. Finally, why do you seek attention for your story? Keep an answer ready, because professional journalists will always ask why you want to contact the press. What's your motive behind the story? Is there financial support involved? Is there a conflict of interest? Why do you want to contact the media? Okay, after those questions, I have some sentences written down as a form of advice, a guidebook. First advice, everybody wants to feel special, so it's good not to contact many journalists at a time. Just maybe choose one journalist, one medium, make them feel special. And by feeling special, they will be more open to your story. I say always that it's better to make a precision bombing instead of a carpet bombing when you want to contact the press. Don't go broad, go deep and precise. Of course, many organizations choose to send around a press release, which is of course very efficient. It's easy. You can send it around to a lot of media at a time. Of course, it doesn't give you the guarantee that it's being picked up by the journalist. That's another reason why you want to go for that first advice, to pick a certain medium, a certain journalist you might personally know also. It's also good to build up a relationship of trust and respect with a medium or a journalist. The journalist might help you one time, you might help him the next time, and you will raise your chance to present your story in depth. That's obviously what you want. You want to explain as much as possible of your background, your research. You want a long article, a good article. Okay, what's the saying doing there? The English saying, let the cobbler stick to his last. You have to realize that you are the expert, the scientist. On the other side, there's the journalist, there's the media, the press. Don't try to intervene too much in the writing style, choice for headlines. Your major concern should be the correctness and the scientific accuracy. The way it's written down, it's the responsibility of the journalist. You might not agree with that, but it's not going anywhere if you try to intervene too heavily. Of course, scientists, you are more trusted to scientific journals. You should always keep in mind that the scientific journal is not the same as a general newspaper, and the public of scientists, colleagues, is not the same as the general public. So if you want to publish in a general medium, please respect the laws of this medium and the laws of the general press. That means that exaggerations and overstatements, sometimes even simplifications, are always made. Of course, you should concern about the correctness and the accuracy, but you can't. There will always be some kind of simplifications of your story. You shouldn't be bothersome about that. Because why you want to publish in a general newspaper, in general media? That's because you want your story to be read. Nobody likes to read boring stories, and that's why you shouldn't be too much concerned about overstatements and simplifications. Next slide. Seize the opportunity. What does that mean? How can you raise your chances to get media coverage? First of all, you should ask yourself, is it relevant for society? For which part of the society? For the energy network? I'm thinking of the bioeconomy now. Is it important for the environment? For the climate debate? Try to explain to the journalist, to the medium you approach, the overall relevance of your findings, your research. That will also raise your chances to get coverage. Also, maybe it's good to have an interdisciplinary mind. That means you should emphasize the relevance in adjacent fields. For the bioeconomy is of course a very interdisciplinary field already. If you work in the field of energy, you could make the overlap to climate, to environment, even to biodiversity. It's not a bad choice to do that while contacting the press. They like broad-minded people. Okay, the third one, what's that? Focus on need to know. That's of course the media like to publish stories that are the opposite. Is nice to know, but of course that's not going to help you a lot in your perception of an expert. Need to know stories tend to stick much longer in the mind of the readers. So try to keep in mind what's the need to know part of your story, and that is also of course connected to the relevance on the different fields I explained. Okay, then we are in the fourth line of advice: don't hide the inconvenient truths. If you have contacted a professional journalist, he might confront you with some inconvenient truths about your own research. You should be prepared for that. You shouldn't try to hide those or just to minimize their importance. Be open, be honest about your field. It's not a pity to have some negative sounding elements in your own story. And of course, have a little bit of self-respect. Don't, when journalists confront you with some nasty questions, don't let him take the ground under your research, under your field. It's your research, be proud of it. If you want to contact the press, there's probably a good reason for that. Last slide. Is the bioeconomy stupid? So, because it's the economy, never forget to mention the green aspect. Bioeconomy is about green. Is about green. It's about green energy, green chemistry, green transport. Never forget to emphasize this to the journalists, because green always works. Secondly, it's also economy, so don't you should mention the money, otherwise the journalists will ask you for it probably. It's no fundamental science, so don't forget the numbers. For example, funding from national European sources. They will always give a clearer view on the feasibility of your work or project. Finally, some other important terms you might mention or keep in mind while talking to the press: alternative, innovative, future. You know the words circular, zero waste, clean tech. These are all great words in while communicating stories about the bioeconomy to the press. They will definitely raise your chances to get some nice and good and long coverage. Okay, that was my small contribution. Over back to Sylvia, who has some questions for me.
Yes. Thank you very much, Senne, for this interesting keynote. I think we really should start the dialogue and the communication with scientists, because when we met with a group of journalists the last time, talking about bioeconomy and its positive aspects, as you raised right now, clean tech, zero waste, circular economy, a lot of journalists say that's all fine, but we do not want to hear any more success stories of the bioeconomy. Why is that so? Why don't you want to hear any more success stories?
Yeah, maybe because there have been so many in the past years in such a short time. Or as I said, the bioeconomy is a new field. It's a very ambitious field. It's connected with hope, with a certain drive. I think it's also a very positive-minded field. think many researchers in the bioeconomy, many experts, also are very positively minded about their research. They really think they can make the difference. The problem, of course, is that the press, the media, has a tendency to present stories in a critical way, of course, that's correct. So a strategy to get around that maybe is to just to present your stories in a less positive way, maybe to bring doubt in your own stories. Of course, it should be correct, but maybe alter the tone to a less world-changing.
Yeah, fanfare. Yes, maybe it's too PR-ish. It could also that we communication people, when we counsel scientists how to set up their media strategy, it is driven a bit by PR. And journalists, I know they react allergic when they see this is the style of a promotion agency, of an advertorial campaign. Maybe it is this PR touch. What you say, no, there should be a critical tone, and then you will better succeed and to get your message across with a journalist. Is it that?
Yes, when journalists read a press release and they will be quite allergic about, for example, greenwashing.
Exactly.
If a story is too positively presented. So if they're contacted and the researcher in question carries already some doubt, some side-by-side questions with his story, it might wake his interest a little bit more. So yes, it's not. Yeah.
You also recommended, instead of a press release, send an in-depth article to the media right now. But I mean, you also touched, it's a bit contradictory. You said that the basic conflict between the scientist and the journalist is the scientist wants a maximum in accuracy, whereas the journalist wants a maximum in catchy lines. To pinpoint something. And if the scientist sends an in-depth article which he thinks this is accurate and this is excellent, don't you think the journalist would be bored?
Yeah, in a lot of situations he will, because not all the articles are so nice to read.
No.
Not all scientific articles, but yeah, you should. That's why I started with these 3 questions. You should ask yourself: is my story good enough? Is it strong enough to raise interest in the press, in the media? Is the relevance? Is there enough relevance for a general public? So if you have a yes on those questions, you can definitely try, and you can also always try more media, more journalists. So if not in the general press, you can always try the specialized press. So the media landscape is very varied, very broad. So there will be eventually there will be some medium interested in publishing your story.
Yeah. So you raised an interesting point, the specialist press. I think this would be the first address before you make it to the science section of a big daily. Maybe the specialist press in energy fields, or you also said go a bit cross-disciplinary, so some food people could be interesting for an energy people when it comes to energy waste conversion, food-based conversion to energy, and vice versa. So you would also recommend to address specialist press first?
That's maybe it's a good when you are really a beginner in outreach. Maybe it's not a good. Maybe it's a good idea to start with the specialized press, and then try the general media at a later stage.
Exactly. Yeah. A question to you: how do you approach a scientist when you get a hint, or when you read a few little brief news in a section and you think, hey, this might be interesting? How do you approach the scientist? Because sometimes they are not very friendly towards journalists, maybe out of better experience or some other reasons. How do you break the ice?
Yeah. It mostly occurs that I read scientific articles, or at least the press releases from the scientific journals, and I always try to contact the first author. And actually, it never happens to me that they are not so enthusiastic about my interest, because they're experts, they're scientists, they want to talk about their research. So I just contact them directly, and I always try to contact the expert who is really involved in the research, and not the head of the lab, or the promoter, or the mentor, for example.
Mm-hmm. But you find your sources, or you do the sourcing via reading scientific journals. Is this the normal way a science journalist?
Yeah, that's one way. That's one way how it works. To find news, you have to follow I call it the scientific telex, the Eureka alert. It's a telex with the scientific news. That's one way. The other way is to have direct contacts with scientists I know, a network of Flemish, Belgian, international scientists, and then I ask them if they have something new, if they are working on something interesting. Problem is, most scientists don't. They really fear to cross the embargo border, so many will wait until their article is published. Then it's difficult to have a scoop, for example, because everybody has it.
I understand. Yeah.
So there is some kind of openness among researchers, but on the other hand, they are also all afraid of crossing the embargo, spreading news before the embargo is lifted.
I understand. Yeah. Are you also working with business departments? Because when it comes to innovation, or if the science is very applied and it's actually on the edge to a product, do you leave your science journalism, and are you also working with the economy section of the media?
Yes, I also write for economy sections, because actually I'm specializing myself in energy issues. Energy is, of course, you can't neglect the economy side. When you write about green energy, you should always keep in mind that the price for solar panels, the oil price, big investment. So you can't neglect that. So yes, and maybe also in the bioeconomy, it's very hard to treat stories without the economy side. I think it's impossible. I think if a new biodegradable plastic is developed, you should place this story in a broader perspective, and then you have the business model comes along, the market. So it's good to have some economy background, or you should wear an economy hat apart from your science cap.
And do you know which part of the bioeconomy is closest to economic realization? Sure, the classic agriculture, but it also may be food. But how about forestry or marine or energy, bioenergies?
Of course, green energy, but that's already into practice. But I've written quite a number of stories about the bioplastics, not biodegradable, but just of the bioaromats. From waste, green waste, they make raw material for plastics, and then you have some kind of CO2 neutral plastic industry, and they're quite evolved already. There are some pilot plans, or even some larger demonstration projects in the Netherlands and also in Flanders. So I think that's the green chemistry is probably the field of the bioeconomy that will be a reality in a decade or 2
couple of
or so.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question to Edward because we have attendees and there might be some questions. Edward, do you know more?
Hi Sylvia, hi Senne. No questions raised at the moment, so if anyone wants to type a question into the question box, they're welcome to do so.
We should wait a second, maybe somebody makes up his mind to pose a question. If not,
no questions.
I still have no questions. Okay, then
No?
let me go on with a question, Senne, also a very practical one. Would you recommend to scientists to hire, at least for a certain time, a journalist to do the media work? Would this be recommendable?
Oh, I don't, yeah, if you hire somebody like that, it's not a journalist anymore, but I think it's not necessary. Many work already in some institutions who have communication people, so even you don't need them all the time. So I think just read the press, follow the media landscape a bit, and then you get to know some journalists, media, who you trust, who you think could be open for your story, and then you can contact them, and then the process of delivering your story and starts. It's some kind of negotiation. Negotiation with the journalist. He wants a readable story. You want correct story, and as much of your own research involved. So it's a negotiation between the experts.
Negotiation. Yeah. Can be sometimes tough, as we know, because there are some breaking points researchers won't go beyond, and you say if you need to formulate this, there will be no more interest in the story. I mean, there are conflicting situations. At the end, I think we always find, but there is also some situation when the scientist is at the edge in his subject, and there can come up some crisis situations. So crisis communication. Did you come up? Did you live such an experience? And the matter of trust is also the coin of the minute then.
Yeah, matter of trust is very important, of course. Also for you to keep your network going. If you want to find a particular expert, it's always good to have a network to guide you around. But about these situations, I sometimes don't publish a story or don't start to write about it if the scientist doesn't want, he doesn't agree with some of my basic, the laws of journalism. So like he wants to intervene with my writing. He wants to thank everybody of his group. He wants to mention everybody of his research group, for example, or is the head of his lab. For example, you see that much in PhD students, for example, wants to thank everybody. So you have some basic rules you have to keep in mind, and if you do that, then there's no problem.
Yeah, but what do you do when the scientist insists on naming the whole group?
Then I don't write about his story. You can write it with someone else.
But okay, yeah. And you lost networks by that, by having a stance on that you say I don't write greeting articles.
He didn't contact me again, no. But I didn't lose an entire network, but I probably lost some contacts, one contact at least. But everybody is replaceable, so that's also true for scientists.
But you found new journals where you have new channels to
yes,
publish.
I'm a freelancer, so I try to have many eggs in the basket, or how do you say that? So I don't write for less than 10 clients or something.
Okay. Yeah. So we will hear from you. Senne, one last question. Are you going to ESOF, to the European Science Open Forum to Manchester?
I had booked my flight, and but I have to cancel it because I'm going somewhere else.
Oh,
I'm going to a genetics summer course in Maine in the United States.
Oh, interesting as well. Yes. Oh, yes,
Because
interesting.
I've been to ESOF already, so 2 years ago. But,
okay. So maybe we read a blog on that from you.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe,
yes.
yes. Okay. I ask again, Edward, if there were some questions posed from the audience.
No, Sylvia, no questions in.
No questions in so far, but I think we had a very extensive and interesting discussion, Senne and me, on science journalism and on both sides of the bench, so to say.
Yes.
And I think for me it was very interesting. I thank you very much, Senne, for your keynote and for answering our questions. And yes, let's meet after our conferences again and have to continue the exchange on how best science communication in CommBebiz. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia.
Everything.
Bye.
Thank you, Senne. Bye.
Bye, Edward.